now presenting the item 2 in regard to the executive committee of the Codex, the 88th meeting that will be held next week. The second meeting is divided, item 2 is divided into 3 parts. In regard to the first part, which is presented upon you, is in regard to the documents provided by the Food Codex met in January and February 2025. In regard to item 2, in the executive committee meetings, that is a critical review, which is given a presentation of the standards and the texts relevant and presented to be adopted, and to monitor the advances in the standards, and to review the proposals or to review the standards. Next meeting, next slide. Here, the executive meeting is requested to ensure new work and draft standards align with Codex strategic priorities, and to follow up the advances and progress of the draft standards and any proposals in regard to extension or cancellation, and any other proposals in regard to the new work provided. In regard to the first part of item 2, it is for and dedicated for what is provided by the Food Codex in Africa during its cycle 25. During this meeting, the meeting number 25, held from 27th to 31st of January 2025 in Uganda, it provided a group of proposals, new work proposals. First, the new proposed work in regard to the salted and unsalted dried fish, boiled or braised at the regional level, and this proposal was approved to be presented in the meeting to CAC 48. The second item, the second proposal, I mean, that was referred for review, for information only, that is for putting a standard for pre-cooked cereal, vegetable granules, which is known as Thai cry, and it was requested by the country represented in this item to apply and to revise and resubmit the paper provided of the proposal and to be presented at the next meeting. There is an observation. There is the member states in the Africa countries. There is always work to provide notable new proposals, but the quality of these proposals, the quality was still limited in regard to the application of the Codex work prioritization criteria. The criteria in regard to the priorities of the Codex. Next. Here, a group of proposals that provided during this meeting. First, boosting and strengthening the partnerships and harmonization and the collaboration between Codex and African Organization for Standardization, ARSO, in order to enhance the harmonization of standards and to exchange information among the region countries, and to boost the control systems of food safety. There is also another proposal regard to food hygiene and street foods. The member states welcomed of the standard CXG 103/2024 regard to the traditional markets to control the safety of the foods in the markets adopted recently. There was a request to review the African guideline and the standard in regard to put in standards to control the street foods, CXG 2020R 1997, to ensure consistency with updated international texts and to identify any gaps and opportunities for the revision of this standard. There is a critical capacity gap. The committee, as we mentioned in the observation, there is absence of the application of the guidance of Codex in regard to the work priorities, in regard to the commodity criteria, in regard to the commodities. And there was a request or a proposal to make a training session and workshop for the countries in the region in regard to these standards and the guidances to be applied in regard to the priorities to enhance the quality of the proposals in regard to the new agenda items and new works, and to continue in regard to critical capacity gap bridging, in regard to Codex strategic map. The members supported ongoing implementation of the 2020-2025 strategic plan while preparing for new plan that is very effective for the member states. In addition to the engaging of the member states in the communication, in addition to that, the members announced their readiness to apply and implement the new strategic plan. And there is a working group provided new potential activities, new activities of special priorities to benefit the region, to be put into the next upcoming Codex strategic plan. The new coordinator for Africa was appointed. It is Gambia in this meeting. And we thank Uganda for its previous works. Next. This is in regard to the Codex for the coordination meeting of Food Codex in Africa. 25, meeting 25. Now, in regard to the coordination meeting of Food Codex of North America and Southwest of the Pacific in its 17th session in Fiji in the period from 3rd to 7 February 2025. The 18th meeting is approved in 2027. During that meeting, there were approval to this new proposals, new work proposals by Papua New Guinea, which is in regard to the Galib nut, and to put a national standard for Galib nut. And during that meeting, the proposal was accepted and approved, as this commodity has special characteristics to support food safety and represent a developing sector with economic benefits for the region countries. There was a comment in regard to hazards The member states emphasized, similar to the nuts, in regard to aflatoxins and allergic materials, but in regard to this point, can be tackled through the use of a COP in regard to the prevention from nut disease, according to Codex 59 CXE for 2005, in addition to the general standard, which is CXS 1-1985. This proposal is compromising with the new work plan, and it was approved. And EWG was presided by Papua New Guinea with the participation of New Zealand and Vanuatu. The EWG was formed to prepare the draft standard for step 3 consideration to be presented at the next meeting, number 18. Next proposal in regard to the breadfruit flour provided by Samoa country, and the committee welcomed this proposal, as the breadfruit flour is essential material in the islands and the region, and it has a very important role to ensure food safety and security under the climate change considerations. So preparing it and transforming it to flour has a lot of potentials and needs protection and maintenance, and to reduce the waste. In addition to that, this flour from breadfruit has a lot of marketing capacities. It is a gluten-free product with high commercial interests. So this is very appropriate for a big sector of consumers. They provided the proposal meets Codex new work, and there is no obstacle in regard to the scientific advice. So the EWG was formed, led by Samoa, co-chaired by Australia and Fiji, in order to continue the process of data collection and to prepare the draft standard. Next. The third committee outcomes included in this document, CXEXE. The first part, item 2, the outcomes of the Fresh Fruits and Vegetable Committee. Here, as indicated by my brother Ali, this committee has its specificity because the work done by the experts of the Food Codex, led by Dr. Ali, along with the participating countries in the meeting and the committee from the Arab region, Algeria, Tunisia, Saudi Arabia, Morocco, and I have had the honor to participate myself. At the personal level, I attended the results of the coordination done in that committee. All thanks to those experts in this initiative for what they did of fruitful efforts, through which we achieved success to approve the standard of fresh dates and to eliminate and to reach compromise in regard to preparation of the item in regard to humidity or moisture. In general, the meeting was in Mexico from 25th February to 1st of March 2025. The session was the 23rd. In brief, what was done is the fresh date standard and the carry fresh leaves, and new work proposals on developing a standard for fresh turmeric, and a new work on developing a standard for fresh broccoli to provide more information for the CCFFV work on the review of existing FFV standards was put, which is the review of the fresh fruit and vegetables standards, and developing an action plan that can be actionable and implemented to implement winning programs and future activities. Next. As I mentioned, in regard to the standards for fresh dates, finalized after resolving the debate in regard to the moisture content, and it was approved the level of decay tolerance at a rate of 1% for dates of excellent category with a reservation of the EU. For the other item, which fresh carry leaves, it was approved and agreed upon endorsing the step 5/8, awaiting endorsement of food additives by the CCFA and the CCFL in regard to the items of these specificities of these committees. This is a main requirement by the Codex, procedural requirements. Next. There are new work proposals approved and provided. The first, as I mentioned, first one by Fiji in regard to fresh turmeric. It was approved. There were no need to have any instructions or new scientific instructions. The proposal can be beneficial for international trade. Also, in regard to a proposal by Mexico in regard to the fresh broccoli. Here, the proposal was approved and intensifying and emphasizing to request the Mexico to differentiate between the frozen broccoli and fresh broccoli, and it was requested from Mexico to review the document provided and to determine it in order to be compliant with the Codex format. It was done by Mexico already and provided to the Secretary of Codex to be presented during the CCEXEC meeting, next meeting. Next slide. In regard to reviewing the existing standards, that proposal was done to ensure that all CFFV standards are aligning with this meeting, and to make sure that there are no changes. And during that item, it was approved to re-establish EWG for this work. Also, it is very important in regard to the monitor shock capacity building. The committee sees there is a need for actionable mentorship mechanism to be recognized in regard to twinning programs, and it was requested from the CAC to that Codex lead this effort. Next. In regard to the future work of CCFFV, there is a request to study the possibility to have virtual meetings through communication for the future meetings. Regard to the fresh date standards, that was an indication of the ability of Codex to build consensus among the member states and to emphasize the clear product definitions. For example, the request to Mexico to differentiate between fresh and frozen broccoli, and to emphasize that Codex must balance inclusivity, clarity, and technical rigor and review. This is in regard to the first part of item 2.